Hello, everybody, and welcome to this episode of the Spiritual Handyman. My name is Jason Antelek, and I am your host. And the Spiritual Handyman is all about getting the tools into the hands of the people that need them. So we will be doing some of that today. I'd like to remind you that you can check out the Spiritual Handyman on YouTube, also our Facebook group, and you can check us out at thespiritualhandyman.com. We also are on Instagram, so feel free to follow, subscribe, like, comment, push all the cool buttons, and get involved in the community, because that's really what we're doing, is building a community of like-minded individuals and providing tools for those people that are looking for some answers. So today we have got Candace Lord with us, and she is a practicing medium. She has an office and sees clients out of a wonderful mountain setting in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And she is joining us today to share a little bit about her story and some tools about being an empath. So this is going to be some really valuable information to identify and to manage the energies that we often take on as we work our way through the world and become more and more open as an empath. So once again, this is Candace Lord. Candace, tell everybody a little bit about you and what you do.
Well, thanks. I really appreciate this invitation, Jason. I'm a practicing psychic medium. I'm also an intuitive card reader, and I have an office in Albuquerque, New Mexico. I've had the same place for 5 years, so I'm easy to find. I also have a psychic mediumship circle. We meet twice a month at our location, and twice annually, myself and my fabulous event manager, Kristen Gonzalez, host a psychic and wellness fair right here in Albuquerque. And I also have a great deal of fun doing paranormal investigations. On the weightier side of that, we do home and house clearings. This is a 300-plus-year-old environment that we live in. So there's a lot of history here and a lot of stories. So I've been doing readings for well over 10 years and have had experiences basically my whole life with this. And it's only probably in the last 20 years of studying that I've really had a frame of reference for what's going on in my life. And it's turned into something quite wonderful, actually.
That is so true. When we finally are able to embrace the gifts and start to elaborate on the experiences and compile those things into something where we can really help people, that's a huge step. It's a big part of why I still do what I do, and why this show is so important, and so I'm so passionate about it, is specifically for that reason, to help people that are just starting out or maybe turning that corner, right? And understanding that they're not alone.
Well, and very often I find that, particularly when I'm working with psychic mediumship, in a way, yes, I'm so thrilled that the people are sitting with me, but my goal is to really serve spirit, to get the information through that can actually help the person. So I'm happy to be that conduit.
I'm a huge believer that psychic mediums are one of the greatest contributions to people's lives, because the information is so clear and so valid, and it happens so quickly in the moment, and I see so much healing happen as a result of it. And good psychic mediums always have a box of tissues
Yes.
at their table, right?
Yes.
Or
Yes.
stashed around. But to see that healing and the tears of joy that brings, that's got to be amazingly gratifying and validating for the one delivering the information. And having sat with you, I know that you really, in the moment, like, you get in that flow and you just go for it. So Yeah, it was really fun that way. I enjoyed that part of the reading. You get very excited and very animated. It's fun to participate in. So
It
so
never gets old. It never gets stale. It is always amazing.
it
Even my
is.
side of the table.
And even though you might deliver the exact same information from one to the other, it's still a completely different experience.
Yes.
So help me understand, help the viewers understand a little bit about your past and how you kind of got into deciding you were doing readings. At what point did that show up to you? Like, okay, I'm talking to all these spirits. You know, what do I do with this information? How did you make that kind of conclusion and transition?
Well, it was gradual for certain. I saw things, I had visions in my mind's eye. Sometimes I knew things were going to happen, and they would, and some of them not the most joyful things I would know. And then about 20 years ago, I had the opportunity to take some courses and learn more about all of this stuff. And I would just be able to sit with people and tell them things and realize that it's not because I knew, it was because I was hearing or seeing it in my mind's eye and simply translating what was coming to me. And quite often it would be accurate. And I decided that when I had the opportunity to retire from my kind of corporate real life, I went straight for learning more and practice, practice, practice. That's one of the big reasons I host a circle, because this really does not only enhance what you can do with your own gift, but it builds your confidence. And I'm sure you know from experience that we all have these little confidence bumps, and with good support, we can work our way through and come out even better on the other side.
You're so right about the confidence piece and understanding what the energy means and where it's coming from, and you know, getting the message understood and delivering it. There's so many moving parts to something that sounds simple, but it's the continued practice, 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 like you said, that really
Yeah.
helps us get there. So you shared with me that you have some really great tools for people that are experiencing a growth in this type of energy. So we're the title of today's show being, Are You an Empath? I'd really like to hear from you, Candace, what your kind of definition of an empath and how a person can recognize that that's what they're experiencing.
Well, I have to say, I can't help but wonder if a lot of this is maybe this idea we talk about, the veil getting thinner, if this maybe isn't some kind of evidentiary thing happening along those lines. People are saying, I'm just overwhelmed with emotion, and I will walk into a big shopping center or something like that, and I felt fine when I walked in. I'm overwhelmed, I'm angry, I'm sad, I don't know where this is coming from. These are all things that an empath might experience. Feeling nervousness when you're around somebody in a line somewhere where you hadn't felt that before. And one of the key things I think we can share when people are having these kind of experiences and are wondering what on earth is happening with me is to use the question, is this mine? When you start to feel emotions come upon you that were not anticipated or generated by your own thoughts. Once we isolate that, then we can get to work on what we can do about what's happening to us.
Gotcha. Okay, so it sounds like that mood swings and that shift in your personal energy is one of the really clear first signs. Did I get that right?
Yes, that is. And I want to say that some people actually have really an extension of that, in which they may feel physically unwell from time to time. In other words, all of a sudden you have a stomach ache, or even something where you're having a sore throat and coughing, and you were just fine, and when you leave, you're just fine. These things can actually, in an extreme case, manifest in our body and how we feel, achy even.
So these are really good indicators that you might be picking up on something from somebody else. Is that right?
Yes, you're picking up on energy that does not belong to you.
Okay. Well, while that can be beneficial in some cases, I would
Yes.
imagine when it's something that you don't desire, that overwhelming is probably one of the first possible words to pop in your head. I, I know
Right.
that taking on energies from other people, it makes me tired.
Yes.
It wears me
Yes.
out emotionally, and it does manifest physically sometimes. But for myself, usually when it's that much energy, I get that kind of knot in my stomach, or I get really anxious. And
Yes. That
and
tight chest.
right,
Yes.
and that's the shift for me that says you're taking on something that maybe doesn't belong to you. But I definitely get that overwhelmed feeling in, in the big box store, and pull the hat down and make sure the sunglasses are nice and tight, right, and just keep my head down.
Fair done
Yeah,
that.
and I've even left my cart just sitting there. Feel like I can't
Oh
do this.
no.
My cart has
Yeah,
got
I've
stuff
done
in
that
it. Yeah,
too.
I am burning a path of flame the other way as quickly as I can towards the nearest exit.
Where's my car?
Right. So what you're suggesting for us is to create a place to pause, recognizing the shift, and giving ourselves an opportunity to say, is this mine? So help me understand, when I ask that question, what might I experience right away? How do I, when I ask the question, what do I expect, or what am I looking for?
Well, we might want to start with a few questions for ourselves. How did I feel when I walked in this place? Have I carried this emotion with me and it's just been enhanced around all these people? Because if this is foreign to what I was experiencing when I walked in the door, it's definitely something I would want to look at who I'm standing next to, and maybe find a different place to stand. Also, we can see who we're actually surrounded by, and sometimes you're not aware that somebody maybe is in a really bad mood. You can avoid that. Also, before you go in the store, if you're recognizing you're having these kind of situations occur, then prepare yourself before you go in. Once you're aware this is happening to you, you can get a leg up on it.
Oh, great. So just being aware of the people around you, when you ask yourself, is this mine? You might actually be able to identify where it's coming from in your bubble, in your space, right? Is that what you're telling us?
Yes, you can see if people are bickering. You can see if somebody is behaving badly, being rude, these kind of things. Usually when somebody behaves that way, they're in a not good mood.
Okay.
So you may be really picking up on that.
Oh, great, great. That recognition in itself is really powerful. It's like, oh, that's not mine. Oh, phew. Okay.
Well, you know,
Uh,
Jason, I want to mention, we really all have fallen into this trap. I don't have my cell phone, but we're like this. And if you're not paying attention, you know, it's not good to not pay attention in any case what's going on around you. We should be aware in this day and age, but we miss these clues because we have our phone or whatever, and we're doing 20 things at once. And so it does require a little attention to do this when you go into a place like
well, that's really good advice. Good advice. So you did mention, once you've recognized that these things are happening to you, that
that.
you can actually prep yourself before you move into an environment that has these possibilities. So what would, if you're sitting in the car getting ready to go into, whatever place, what would you suggest? What are a couple of tools to help set that up so we're not taking on those kind of energies or picking up those things?
Well, how about a quick little ceremony in the car behind the wheel before we get out? Surround ourselves with golden light and protective energy, and speak to spirit, your guides, whoever that you speak to that's in the higher realms, and ask them to protect you as you go in. This creates an awareness that spirit, we're a team, we're going in. Really, that can be very helpful. Now, there's other little things we can do too. We can help our little spirit team. Maybe we could carry something so simple as a piece of obsidian, or even better yet, black tourmaline. Now, these dark stones of this nature, they not only ground us, but they provide a layer of protection for us. Now, in extreme cases, I have even utilized an idea that sometimes we need a little more than that support. So create yourself a mental net, like the heavy fishing nets we see in the ocean. And let's make that gold, but it's light as a feather. Put the net over you before you walk in. Prevent the negative energy, ask that it not come in, but your light can shine out through the net. Now, this is a device that keeps us aware as we go through, so we're not losing touch with how we're feeling, and we can monitor that and quash it.
I like it. I like it. That's those are great tools. I can see myself in the car going, okay, this is there's a lot of people in there, and I'd like to keep my energy to myself and keep theirs to themselves. So whoever can help me with that.
Surround me now, baby.
Yeah, would you guys mind, accompanying me or sending a liaison, sending somebody along with me? That'd be great. I oftentimes we find ourselves asking for something and we're not sure of who. But if it works, I don't think it really matters who you ask. Would you agree that we could just say, hey, I could use some help here, and we'll get it? Is it that simple?
I believe it is that simple. I believe we all have a team, guides, you can angels, whatever you want to call them in your belief system. We are surrounded with protection from the divine, and we can call on it when we need to make decisions, when we feel we need protection, when we feel we need a boost in the love in our own hearts. And I believe that there's a way that can be quite effective in calling upon them is they know already what might be in our highest interest, sometimes possibly over our own, haha. and and so we can ask them in a way that is thanking instead of requesting. Let's just trust in them and believe that they're there for us, and thank them for the protection they are surrounding with us now. It's solid and it's there, and I know it. This is the kind of conviction that can help you take charge.
That was a really powerful point, Candace. Thank you for that. Thank you for helping me as I make my way through this store. Like,
Yes.
it's just that simple. And you've already, like you said, you've already established that it's happening. So there's no wonderment. There's no space for whether or not it's working. It's just thank you and assuming that they're there and that it's working, which is, I would say, 100% of the time true anyway. But that's a very small shift that can have a huge impact on your personal psyche while you're trying to manage, getting your errands done. You're trying to do the simplest practical things, and trying not to get overloaded while you do it. So thank you for making that suggestion. That's pretty amazing. So I have a question, if I'm standing in line and I've figured out that I've taken on this person's energy and I'm feeling that, like, how can I manage that out of my field? Right? Like, okay, whoops, I took that on, but now I've recognized it, and that's good. But how do I get rid of it?
Well, I'm a strong believer in visualization. And if you've connected your visualization, you can manifest something of that nature. You can actually imagine a field of light. Say they're standing in front of you in a line. Imagine the strength of the field of protection, the light in front of you. Let it just push back, and they can have their energy back and your field returns to you. Also, I would suggest breathing very deeply in through your nose 3 or 4 times. This wouldn't be recognized in any rude thing happening in a line. Once you've got that in there deep in your lungs, blow that air out as hard as you can, and that energy of that individual along with it. And that would be your focus in your breathing. You're throwing the energy right back out. It's not yours. You don't get to keep it.
That's powerful and a very physical way to address that as well. I know sometimes when I'm exhaling in those kind of situations, I will exhale as much as possible. I will push as much air out of my lungs as I can, without, turning a different color, of course. But really pushing it out and watching that energy go out, and then breathing in the fresh air, the light, the energy in my own space that really fills that back up. That's one of the things that I try to share with people, is that when you send energy out, something's got to fill that space. And light or positivity or your personal energy, something needs to be a marker for that area, right? Because if you just breathe it out, it's kind of like the tide goes out and then the water comes right back
in.
And it might even be the same water, who knows. But
well, to extend that, Jason, I would suggest when you breathe in, I imagine little silver and gold sparkles coming in. And when I breathe that air out, I allow myself to see that it's brown. It's dirty. It's not mine. It's leaving me.
Ooh.
And so that visualization in itself, you can push a lot out until you see that air is getting clear again. You just continue doing that.
That's a really simple tool that you can apply anytime, anywhere, not just in line, but in your car or in traffic, or just sitting on the couch. I mean, you can get rid of a lot of stuff that way.
Watching the news, heaven forbid.
I don't really do that anymore.
That's good.
Yeah, when you get more sensitive, the news tends to infiltrate, and it's really easy to connect with the pain other people are experiencing, or the corruption, or the whatever. It's nice when they have that bright, happy news article or segment, but that doesn't happen as often as the other stuff.
Not as it should.
Well,
change that.
I wonder if there's an anti-news channel. Maybe that's the next show, anti-news. It's all.
I think you're it, Jason. I think you're it.
Well, I can't do it without you. This was our idea now.
Oh, bless your heart.
So one thing I would like to share with folks, and while this is going to come out as a selfless plug a little bit, I was shared through a channeling a process that I have dubbed the love buffer. And it's a very quick meditation that assists people that are having issues with energy exchange. And it allows those of us that are empaths or highly energetically sensitive to set up a buffer. And rather than address it as a layer of protection, which in my belief, protection, if you set it up to maintain it constantly, you're kind of drawing that testing of that protection to you. The buffer is a temporary thing that sets up and is there as long as it's useful. That's my intention around it. So just to be clear on what the difference is and why I call it a buffer. But it's actually available on my website. If you go to akashaman.com, AKASHAMAN.com, and in the left-hand column, there is a button for the love buffer, and you can listen to the meditation and read the description of it. So if you are someone who has trouble with that kind of energy exchange and you'd like something, another tool to add to your box, that's there, and it's absolutely free. You don't have to sign up for it. You just go and check it out. So just something to toss out there for those of us who are experiencing that kind of thing. So Candace, I know people have been able to get a lot of great things from what you've shared with us today. Should they want to know more about you or find out about what other things you offer, or maybe sign up for your meetings or your fairs, or come see you there, where would they get that information?
Well, my website is candacelord.com, and my contact information is all on there. How to get a hold of me for a reading. We are going to be having another springtime mind, body, and soul psychic and wellness fair. That information will be up in there at the beginning of January. And I've put together a little something for folks who really want to just kind of learn about the ground level when they're recognizing that something unique is going on with them. And that'll be posted on my website in late January. And meanwhile, I do both phone readings and readings in person. And so feel free to email me. I am booking into mid-January right now. So the sooner you call, the better we'll sit together.
Right. Thanks for sharing that info. It will also be down in the description of the video, so you can access all of Candace's information there. If you want to go right away to candacelord.com, it's CANDACELORD.com. And all the information that she shared with you is there, or will be by time the show has aired. So Candace, I want to say thank you so much for helping us identify if we're taking on empathic energies and experiencing that kind of thing, and some tools to not only manage it while it's happening, but to prevent it. So thank you so much for sharing your expertise and the simple pieces of your knowledge with us today.
Well, I can't thank you enough for inviting me to do this, and I just wish you the best holiday season ever.
Well, thank you so much, Candace. And thank you, everybody, for taking the time to watch The Spiritual Handyman. We are going to be releasing every Thursday now, starting January of 2019. So there will be a fresh new episode every Thursday posted at YouTube. It will also be on thespiritualhandyman.com. And you can follow us on Facebook and Instagram. Remember that The Spiritual Handyman is all about getting spiritual tools into the hands of those that need them the most. Thanks so much for watching, and we will see you next time.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
The Spiritual Handyman, bringing spiritual tools to the hands of the people who need them. Sponsored by the Eagle Heart Foundation. The Eagle Heart Foundation is a 501c3 nonprofit organization that brings charitable contributions and educational enhancements to the people. So how can you be a part of the Spiritual Handyman and the Eagle Heart Foundation? The Triple Win Situation. This book was written by Granddaughter Crow, and half of the proceeds go to the Eagle Heart Foundation, which in turn sponsors the Spiritual Handyman. How to get it one? It's on Amazon and Kindle for only $9.99. So we are here to bring tools to you. Thank you so much, Spiritual Handyman. We believe in what you do.